What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we finish up our talks on the Enchantment Wizard, the most tantalizing and attractive of all of the wizards out there. However, we get to build one today and actually put that to the test, and man, it did really good in its ranking earlier this week. I'll put that up in the icon above, but how does it do when we put it in the real world? That's what we're going to do today. But before we do that, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already. We are on our way to 5,000 subscribers. We can definitely get there by the end of the year. We still got a couple of weeks, but we still got a little bit left to go, so please help me out with that. Share the video with your friends, and of course, click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded. The best way, of course, to support this channel is by becoming a member down below for just $2 a month at the Bronze Snapper tier. You of course get access to all of my build guides, subclass fixes, all that good stuff. So that is a great perk there. And of course there are some other benefits that go along with the silver and gold tiers as well. So make sure to check that out. So today's build is somewhat straightforward. It's very interesting because the Enchantment Wizard is, because the kit is so well conceived, it really encourages you to actually take a lot of enchantment spells. Now that sounds like a no-brainer, but when we talked about the Divination Wizard recently, I'll put that up in the icon above as well, we actually were like, we just need one per spell level, and that's about it, right? We don't really need to worry about taking all of them that we can. I would say that that is definitely the case of wanting every single one of them that we can almost on this build. So it does really encourage that. There are a couple of pitfalls that I'm gonna tell you about as we go, but overall it's a pretty straightforward build. So without any further ado, let's jump into it right after a word from our sponsor. If you are looking for a great gift this upcoming Christmas season, then the Wandering Tavern by Homie and the Dude is the perfect one for the TTRPG lover. This system agnostic setting features 15 floors and 23 unique locations for you to explore on a massive airship. Interact with the various factions to learn all of the mysteries held within this vessel. Learn recipes for unique benefits and even compete in a bake-off. If you like the work of Studio Ghibli, then this is absolutely the one for you. Learn more with the link below and use code DAPPER10 to receive 10% off at checkout. And of course, by doing so, you will be supporting my channel. Thank you again to Homie and the Dude for supporting the channel, and let's get back to the video. So here are the rules as always. Make sure to read those over, and if your stats look different than mine, then you may need to make some slight adjustments. So we're going to start off with our race, and this is one that I have not used in forever. I honestly do not know the last time that I used this race. It's been a very long time. We are going with the Tortle, actually. The Tortle is very interesting. Now, you don't necessarily have to go with the Tortle, but at least for my play style, the way that I would like to do this, I tend to play things a little riskier, and so the Tortle gives me a little bit more reliability, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. We get things like the claws and shell defense, right? We're not going to be using the claws for really anything. We have shell defense, which could be decent if we need it, right? Of course, you get your shell and you get a AC bonus and that kind of thing. Not too bad, but I would say that the use cases are a little bit more situational, but definitely if you're in a bad spot and just absolutely cannot get out, this might be a way to stay alive until your friends can get there. I don't know. It's not the worst thing ever. Really, the biggest reason why we're here is the natural armor, right? We get a natural armor of 17. We can't wear armor to boost it, but that's fine because we already didn't have any armor proficiency, so who cares? So to me, this is nice. It saves spell slots. We don't necessarily have to bring along something like mage armor, and we're doing okay. We actually could take a shield here though and gain the benefit and get a 19 off rip, which is really cool if we were proficient in shields. So if we wanted to go out of our way and get proficiency with that, that's definitely an option, but you do not get that stock as a wizard. Speaking of that, we're going to go with our stats next, and just like always, we're going to have intelligence as our top stat. Second highest is going to go into constitution. Third highest is going to go into dexterity. Although I will say that you could make the case to make wisdom higher than dexterity on this build because we aren't using dexterity to boost our armor class. Of course, it is there for things like initiative, but we aren't using it for one of the biggest reasons why people like boosting dexterity. So there might be a use case here to actually go with wisdom being a little bit higher. However, though, strength and charisma are still going to be our dump stats, so you can do with that what you will. Get those as low as possible, it really doesn't matter. We're going to get a boost of either 3 +1s or a +2 and a +1 because this was a redone race in the Mordenkainen book. And so we are going to grab just the 3 +1s across the top. So we're going to get a +1 intelligence, +1 in constitution, and +1 dexterity to round all of those off, which is really nice. For equipment, not really a whole lot to report. We don't need armor, obviously, so grab an arcane focus, that's cool. And besides that, we really don't need much. We're just gonna be slinging some spells and making people our friends / our enemies, and that's really about it. So with all that, let's go ahead and start taking some levels. We're going to be 20 levels in Wizard again this week. You know, I've said this in the past. I just don't feel that there really is a better path most of the time than to go straight 20 levels in Wizard. Now, you can make a case for some other things, and again, I will talk about that at the very end with the honorable mentions, as always, but most of the time, just going 20 levels in Wizard is going to be your best option, and that's really that's all we can do, and that's what we're going to do today. Wizard 1, we get our spell casting, of course, and arcane recovery. If you have any questions about what the general wizard does, of course, that is going to be up in the icon above to check that video out. But spell casting, of course, you know it, you love it. You get to cast the spells, you get to write them in your book, all that fun stuff. Arcane recovery, you get to get some spell slots back. That's really nice, honestly. So definitely a really cool thing there. Then we get, of course, some cantrips and first level spells. For cantrips, Prestidigitation, always going to be a staple there. Firebolt, just so that you have some reliable damage. And then I would grab Mind Sliver. It's an enchantment spell, so it's not bad to have this on hand. It doesn't combo with anything necessarily in this subclass, but it's still not too bad and can set up a later spellcaster in your initiative order. So I definitely would have that on hand. It fits the theme, so why not? For first level spells, Shield, of course, and Silvery Barbs. Now, unfortunately, Silvery Barbs, as broken as it is, does have a fatal flaw when it comes to this subclass, and that is the fact that Split Enchantment does not work on it. This is because the spell actually targets two creatures. It targets the creature that is the attacker and the creature that gains the benefit of the advantage. So you actually cannot split enchantment Silvery Barbs. Keep that in mind. It would be broken, but you can't do it. What you can do, though, is Tasha's Hideous Laughter or Charm Person. Those are ones that we want to keep in the back pocket for that once we get it. So definitely have those on hand. At Wizard 2, we get, of course, our features that let us be an enchantment wizard. So we get Enchantment Savant and Hypnotic Gaze. Hypnotic Gaze is one of those features that you can use in combat, and that's why we went Tortle, right? So that if we are in melee and we have to be in a place and we don't necessarily like it, but we're there, then maybe this can help us to maybe shrug off a hit and then Hypnotic Gaze right after that, right? It's a nice backup safety option. It's not necessarily the primary goal. Hypnotic Gaze is definitely better outside of combat, but still, if you can lock somebody down in combat, plus you're, hold personing somebody else, that's really cool. So definitely keep that in mind. It can work in combat. It's a lot more risky to do it that way. At Wizard 3, we get cantrip formulas optionally from Tasha's, and I allow these at my tables, whether or not your DM does or not, that is completely up to you. But cantrip formulas, of course, allows us to swap out cantrips if we mess up. Definitely could be good, or if you just need one for a certain situation, a certain part of the story, and then you can get rid of it, that's totally fine too. Whatever works out for you there. We get second level spells online here as well, and Hold Person, Suggestion are the top two, right? Those are enchantment spells. They can be split. Both work really, really great. And then, of course, Misty Step for that little bit of extra movement, just in case we need to get out of somewhere that we don't like. If our Hypnotic Gaze goes awry, right, then that's our action, so we can then bonus action Misty Step. So we have some options there, and that's totally fine since Hypnotic Gaze is not a spell. Then we get Wizard 4, we get our first ASI or feat. Warcaster, Warcaster, Warcaster. There is no other feat or anything else that is more important than Warcaster at this point, because we're going to be concentrating on a lot of stuff and we're going to be in melee with some things, and so if they go to run away, we then can cast a spell. Warcaster is so important on this. You have to take it now. There's no other option, so definitely take that. don't even think about it. At Wizard 5, no features, but we do get 3rd level spells. There aren't really any enchantment spells that I'm super excited about at this level. We of course get Incite Greed, which is, I guess, the best one at this point, but even then that one's a little situational. But again, that is another possibly take somebody or two with Split out of the fight, which is not necessarily the worst thing. So could be good, but I would also pack things like Counterspell and of course Dispel Magic, just so you have the normal stuff in the back pocket. At Wizard 6, we get Instinctive Charm, which can be decent. Definitely depends on what your opponent is doing, but if you are about to take that hit and you want to change up where that target's going, this can definitely help out and definitely save your skin. Again, you have a high AC, which is great, but being able to deflect that over to a fighter, barbarian, or somebody, or even better, to an enemy, that would just be fantastic. And so I love that feature for that. I think that is definitely very, very helpful. At Wizard 7, no features, but we get 4th level spells. Charm Monster, of course, is going to be my top one here. It's really the only one of note from the Enchantment School, but we can also, of course, pick up the classics such as Polymorph, Banishment, and Dimension Door. At Wizard 8, we get another ASI or feat, and now we're going to bump Intelligence. I think that is the most important thing now that we have our Warcaster online, so we want to bump up that Intelligence, and I'm just going to tell you, for the rest of the build, you're going to want to bump that Intelligence until you get it maxed out. Mine is, yours may not, and so if it's not, then we'll adjust accordingly, but I'm going to bump Intelligence here because I want that to be maxed out ASAP. We have Wizard 9 next up, and in there is no features, but 5th level spells, and so Dominate Person and Hold Monster, those are the gimmies, right? We have to grab those. Those are super, super important. There's also Synaptic Static, which is weird that it's on the enchantment list, kind of. This is not a single target spell, so it does not work with the Split, but still, it's still a nice spell and does some decent damage, so definitely consider that. At Wizard 10, we finally get Split Enchantment. I've been talking about it this entire time. We finally get it, and now we can hit 2 creatures with 1 spell that is supposed to only target 1 creature, which is really, really good. Of course, your Dominate Person makes a lot of sense. Your Hold Monster makes a lot of sense. You've gotten a lot of really, really good stuff up to this point that you can now essentially twin for free, which is really, really good. I absolutely love that. And so again, there's no reason for me to want to multi-class around because I want this as soon as I possibly can get it because it's just that good. At Wizard 11, we get no features, but we do get 6th level spells. Mass Suggestion is one that honestly, I don't know if I even want it because I can already split. And so Mass is kind of one of those that I'm not going to really go to this unless I really am in a pickle and really need to get this out. But honestly, you've got Suggestion that already works with Split Enchantment, and so you may want to go that route and save that 6th level spell slot. So just something to think about there. Although one that I would not leave on the bench is Otto's Irresistible Dance. That one is great, and that is one that I definitely would pack and is worth that 6th level spell slot. At Wizard 12, we get another ASI or feat. Because I have maxed out my Intelligence, I'm going to go ahead and start going for my Constitution, and so that is where we're going to go next, +2 into Constitution. Wizard 13, we get no features, but we do get 7th level spells, and now we start getting into the crazy stuff. We're going to grab every Power Word spell that there is because those are all enchantment spells. So Power Word Pain comes online here. Now listen, I know Power Word Pain and Power Word Stun are not the best spells out there. However, when they are able to be freely twinned, I think that their value goes up significantly, and that is where we are at here. So Power Word Pain is absolutely worth it because of Split Enchantment, and I think that's really, really cool. We also can grab something like Finger of Death here if you want some other kind of damaging move there. It's fine. I still would rely a lot more on Power Word Pain, but Finger of Death is not a bad backup option. Wizard 14, we get Alter Memories, and this one is interesting. I think that this one, I may have slept on this one a little bit. Definitely the comments said that this is better than what I said, and that's totally fair. I do think it's good. I think being able to wipe the memory, essentially, of someone that you have been mind controlling or charming or whatever is nice because then, you know, you prevent any kind of retaliation. You prevent that guard that you took over from going and telling the captain of the guard or the king or whatever that something's going on, right? You can get rid of any of those implications and get away with a lot more here. And so I think that there are a lot of great implications outside of combat, especially when it comes to subterfuge, when it comes to stealth, when it comes to getting in places you're not supposed to get and doing things you're not supposed to do. This can help with that, and it's basically free. It's not free, but it might as well be. It's really, really good. So I definitely like that feature a lot. At Wizard 15, no features, but we do get 8th level spells, and we finally get Dominate Monster, Feeble Mind, and Power Word Stun. That trio is insane. All 3 of those spells are incredible, and being able to twin Feeble Mind, that is gross. That is absolutely gross. And being able to Power Word Stun 2 creatures, that's also gross. All of this is disgusting, and I absolutely love it, and I want it, and it's really cool. If you're getting to this high level, you're gonna have a blast with this. It's really, really great. Wizard 16, we get an ASI or feat, so we're gonna go ahead and bump Constitution again, like what I was saying. And then Wizard 17, no features, but 9th level spells, Power Word Kill. Power Word Kill, that's where we're going, right? Makes a lot of sense there to go with that. There are plenty of other options that are good. There's also Psychic Scream, which is enchantment, but although I would rather go Power Word Kill. That's just me. Psychic Scream is not a single target spell, so it doesn't work with anything on split. So I'm really trying to make sure that I'm using split as much as possible, and yeah, Power Word Kill works, so that's where I'm going with that. Wizard 18, we get Spell Mastery, and just like always, we're going to go with Shield and Silvery Barbs. Those just make the most sense to be able to cast for free because they are just so good all throughout your career, right? Even though it's a 1st level spell, you can use this at the very end of the game, and it's just as useful then as it was before, if not more so, if you cause that enemy to fail on something, which is definitely really good. At Wizard 19, I'm going to get my final ASI or feat, and I probably just grabbed the tough feat here just for some extra HP. I feel like this makes a ton of sense. If you are behind on any of your stats, of course you can keep doing that, but having extra HP makes a lot of sense, especially when we've got a decent AC at 17. You could also go somewhere and pick up some kind of a shield proficiency, but to me, I think the tough feat makes the most sense here. And finally, level 20, we get signature spells, and I'm going to grab Counterspell, of course. The other one might honestly be Incite Greed, just because we get that basically for free here, and that way we can kind of take something out of the fight. I don't think that Incite Greed is the worst thing out there. It's certainly not the best spell. I know that it's a little underpowered in some cases, but still being able to cast it without a spell slot is pretty nice, and then being able to essentially twin it with Split Enchantment also for free is really good, honestly. And so I think that to me, it's honestly worth it. Otherwise, if you don't think Incite Greed is worth it, totally fine, go with the Spell Magic instead. So what do you think of the Enchantment Wizard build? I think this one's really fun. Like I said, there's nothing crazy complicated about it, and I don't think there needs to be. And that really goes to show you just how good this subclass is and how well designed it is. It just makes sense when you build something, when you make a subclass that is just this well put together, that all the pieces just kind of fit together, and you don't need to get anything complex in there because it's just that good. So that's really all there is to it. However, I've got some other options for you that you should at least consider. For other racial options, I really think the gnome is my number 2. I almost went with the gnome actually because I think it's actually quite good, especially with the fadeaway feat, being able to go invisible after an attack. Again, if something fades, if something goes wrong and you need to get out of there, that can be a good way to do it, right? And that way you don't have to expend a spell slot. For Misty Step, you can get out of there. It's at disadvantage, so you probably will get out of there without taking a huge hit. And so that is really, really nice. Another option here, speaking of gnome, is the auto gnome if you are allowing things from Spelljammer. This one's pretty cool, again, because it gives you that boost to AC among a few other things. I really like having that extra defensiveness on here, which leads me to my third one, which is the Warforged, for a very, very similar reason. Getting that bonus to AC for free is really, really good when you're a very, very squishy wizard. And I really can't, I can't think down on any of these, especially if we are boosting our AC in other means, taking things like that mage armor, of course, to further boost that up. There are a lot of ways that you can boost this and make this work really well for you, and so all of those options make sense. Further feat options, of course, Fade Touched makes a ton of sense here, because then you can, of course, get a hold of Misty Step and one other enchantment spell, which is cool. And so if you didn't grab it before, you can grab one now, which is really nice. Just be careful, because you can't end up doing spell mastery with that spell, just because it is not a wizard spell technically, so just be careful with that. And then you also can take something like Telekinetic. This, of course, could possibly move somebody into your range so that you could hypnotic gaze that thing, and so definitely could be a really nice option there for just a little bit of control where you need it, and to get things where you need in order to make use of your features. And then finally, other class options. One level of Artificer makes a lot of sense here, because then you get your proficiencies in your armor, you get your shield proficiency, which is pretty good. You also aren't slowing down your spell slot progression all that badly, but again, you are going to be slowing down how long it takes you to get things like Split Enchantment. And so for me, again, that's why we went with the straight wizard, but one level of Artificer makes a lot of sense. For mostly the same reason, the fighter makes a lot of sense as well, because then, of course, you can get those armor proficiencies, and of course, then you can also pick up something like Action Surge, which will let you take 2 actions, and so you could lay down some pretty nasty stuff doing this, which is really cool. Just watch your concentration. And then finally, the Cleric. There are a lot of clerics that work here, but the Cleric honestly is a really nice kit, because a lot of them come with the armor proficiency already, which is good, but they also come with some really good stuff at level 1, and so there's a lot that makes sense here if you're willing to be split between both intelligence and wisdom. So that is our build for today. I hope you all enjoyed. Next week, we're moving on to Evocation. We went from very charming to blowing everything up, and so we will just see how well this does overall next time. So until then, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.